My younger brother spent 8 months sleeping with my fiancée in my own condo. The worst part? My parents knew for at least half of that. And they let me keep planning the wedding anyway. I wasn't supposed to be home until 9 that night. I'm 33, a claims adjuster for a major insurer here in Calgary. The kind of job where you spend your days figuring out who's lying about a fender bender and who genuinely got rear-ended on Deerfoot Trail. I'm good at it. Good enough that I'd closed out a complicated fraud file early that Tuesday. A guy who'd staged 3 separate accidents over 2 years. And my supervisor told me to just take the rest of the afternoon since I'd already hit my numbers for the week. So I left the office at 2. Thought I'd surprise my fiancée, Sasha, with the kind of grocery run that says I love you without saying it. Those croissants she liked from the bakery on 17th Avenue, the ones that cost $6 each and were gone in 2 bites. I picked up a bottle of the Niagara wine she'd mentioned at her cousin's wedding back in the spring. I was smiling in the checkout line like an idiot. We'd been together 4 years. Engaged for 10 months. The wedding was 6 weeks out. A small place outside Canmore. Mountains in the background, 110 guests, a deposit on the venue alone that had eaten most of my savings. I had the ring on a payment plan I was almost done paying off. Every weekend for the past 2 months had been cake tastings and seating charts and arguments about whether her aunt from Winnipeg could bring a +1 nobody had met. My brother Cole had been staying with us since the winter. He'd lost his job at a dealership out in Airdrie. Something about missed targets. Though his version always involved an unreasonable manager, and he had nowhere else to land. Our parents' place in Red Deer was 2 hours north, and Cole hated Red Deer, said there was nothing for him there. So I told him to take the spare room as long as he needed. Free rent, no pressure, no timeline. That's just what you do for your brother. The condo was too quiet when I got in. Cole's boots were by the door, his jacket on the hook. Sasha's keys were on the kitchen counter, where she always dropped them. But no television, no music, nothing. Then I heard it. Coming from our bedroom. A sound you don't mistake for anything else once you've heard it. I want to say, I went into some kind of rage, kicked the door down, started yelling. That's not what happened. What happened is my whole body went very calm and very cold at the same time, like my brain had decided that falling apart wasn't going to get me anything, except a worse story to be the villain of. I set the grocery bag down on the counter, quietly, like I was trying not to wake a baby. Then I walked down the hall. The door was cracked open. They hadn't even bothered closing it all the way, because why would they? I wasn't supposed to be home for another 7 hours. I pushed it open and there they were. Cole nearly fell off the bed scrambling away from her. Sasha grabbed the duvet like that was going to undo what I'd already seen. Like covering up now could erase the picture that was already burned into my head for the rest of my life. Our bed. The frame I'd assembled myself off a YouTube tutorial, because the instructions only came in French and I don't speak French. Marcus. She started. How long, I said. My voice came out flat. I didn't recognize it. They looked at each other first. Even with their clothes half off, they still had this silent language between them, this way of checking in with each other before either one spoke to me. That's when I understood this wasn't a one-time thing. This was routine. How long, Sasha? She was crying for real now. 8 months. 8 months. Since right after Cole moved in. Since I told him to take as long as he needed. 8 months me cooking dinner for the 3 of us. 8 months of wedding planning, of cake tastings, of me writing and rewriting vows trying to get them right. 8 months of believing she loved me every single night. I turned around and walked out, past the kitchen where I'd made them both breakfast that morning. Out to my car. I drove to a parking lot behind a Tim Hortons on 14th Street, and sat there for almost 2 hours with my phone on silent, working through the wreckage of my life like it was a spreadsheet. Then I went into investigator mode. Because that's exactly the skill set I had. I opened our joint checking account on my phone. $4,100 in there, half of it mine, money I'd earned and put in. I moved $2,100 into my personal account, the one she had no access to. Not a cent more than what was rightfully mine. Then I started documenting. Screenshots of the transaction history going back 8 months. Every grocery run, every utility bill, every dinner I'd paid for while she was sleeping with my brother under that same roof. Our iCloud was still shared from when we'd set it up together 2 years back, syncing both our devices without either of us thinking twice about it. Her notes app was right there. A note titled just, "C," no name. Dated entries going back to February. February 9th, finally happened, feels wrong but also right. February 22nd, almost got caught, M came home early, heart still racing. March 14th, told C I love him, he said it back. April 30th, M wrote his vows tonight and read them to me. I couldn't even look at him. I screenshotted every entry. Her texts with Cole, synced through the same account, nothing explicit, just enough. Can't wait till he leaves for work. Last night was perfect. We tell him after the wedding, not before. The invitations had already gone out. 110 cream envelopes, names done in gold calligraphy, by a woman in Inglewood, who charged $11 a card. The venue near Canmore was booked. Deposit paid. Non-refundable of course because that's how Alberta wedding venues work. The photographer had half his fee up front. Sasha's dress had been altered twice already. By the time I finished documenting everything it was past 7:40. Some missed calls between Sasha, Cole, and my mother. I didn't answer a single one. I checked into a Holiday Inn off McLeodge Trail, paid for a week up front, and the room smelled like industrial carpet cleaner. But it had a deadbolt and nobody on earth knew where I was. That counted for something that night. The family meeting happened that Sunday at my parents' place in Red Deer. My mother called from my sister's phone because I'd already blocked everyone else. "Marcus, we need to talk about this like adults. 2 o'clock, everyone will be there." I should have hung up and blocked that number too. But some stupid, stubborn part of me still thought blood meant something. I actually believed I'd walk in, and my mother would put her arms around me and tell me she was sorry this had happened, that she was on my side, full stop. I was an idiot. The living room was set up like an intervention. My mother in the armchair by the window, the one my dad had bought her for their anniversary, before he got sick, and passed 2 winters back. My sister, Holly. No, not Holly, that name's already taken on this channel in my head. Let's call her by the name I actually gave her. My sister Reagan on the love seat with her arms crossed, clearly annoyed she'd had to drive in from Lacombe for this. Cole and Sasha sat together on the main couch, shoulders touching, looking exhausted and sorrowful, like they were the ones who'd been wronged. The only open seat was a kitchen chair dragged in and placed dead center facing all of them. Like I was on trial. I stayed standing. "Marcus, sit down," my mother said, that voice from when I was 16 and missed curfew. Gentle but already decided. "I'll stand. Why is she here? Because she's part of this family. Or she was about to be. She's the reason we're all sitting here." Sasha started crying on cue, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue she conveniently already had ready. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. We tried to fight it. We really did, but sometimes you can't help who you fall for. We're in love," Cole said, voice cracking right on time. "I know the timing is awful. I know I screwed up. But what Sasha and I have is real. We didn't plan this, it just happened," I repeated. "For 8 months. In my condo. In my bed. While I was at work paying for a roof over your head because you couldn't keep a job." "Marcus, don't be crude," Reagan said from the love seat. "Crude? That's the part bothering you?" My mother got up and crossed the room, put her hand on my arm with that gentle, disappointed look I'd lost 100 arguments to. "Honey, I know you're hurt. Anyone would be. But Cole is your brother, blood is blood. And if he and Sasha have real feelings for each other, genuine feelings, maybe it's better this came out now. Before the wedding. Before you two made a mistake you couldn't undo." I stared at her. This was the woman who used to call me her reliable one, the one who shows up, the one who'd let her stay in my spare room for half a year after Dad's funeral, while she sorted out the life insurance paperwork, the one who called every single Sunday without fail, because that's what a good son does. "You're taking side. There aren't sides, Marcus. We're a family." "Oh, Cole, feels terrible." Reagan cut in, leaning forward. "They both do. This has been eating them alive. They were going to tell you. After the wedding. I laughed, and it came out, broken and ugly. "So the plan was to let me marry her. Go on the honeymoon, build a whole life with her, and then surprise. Your wife's been sleeping with your brother the entire time? You're being dramatic," Sasha said, and something in her voice shifted. Harder now. The crying routine wasn't landing, so she was trying something else. "It's not like we set out to hurt you. Feelings change, Marcus. That's life. Your feelings changed into my brother. While you were wearing my ring. Maybe the ring was a mistake. Maybe if you'd paid more attention to me instead of working all the time. There it was. My fault. Of course it circled back to being my fault. Working to pay for the wedding she wanted. Working to save for the house she said she wanted. Working to build the future she claimed to want." I looked around the room one last time. My mother, who'd chosen her cheating son over her betrayed one. My sister, calling my reaction dramatic. My brother, repaying every ounce of kindness by sleeping with my fiancée under my roof for the better part of a year. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, and my voice had gone calm. Dead calm. The voice I use at work, reviewing a file that's about to take someone's claim apart. "I'm walking out of here. You're all going to live with what you chose today. And within the week, everyone we know, everyone who got an invitation to that wedding, is going to know exactly what kind of people you are." "What does that mean?" my mother said, an edge creeping into her voice for the first time. "It means consequences. Something this family apparently forgot existed. Nobody followed me out, nobody called to apologize. That told me everything. Monday morning I started building the case like it was a fraud file, because that's exactly what it was. Credit freeze with all 3 bureaus. New checking account at a different bank. New phone number. Every password changed, Sasha removed from every shared account. Everything documented with timestamps. By Tuesday I'd called my real estate agent and told her to list the condo that week. While she was there for photos, I had the locks changed. Wednesday I drafted a formal notice for Cole, 30 days, sent registered mail with signature confirmation. No emotion in it, just legal language about termination of a month-to-month verbal arrangement and a requirement to vacate. With a line about a Calgary police non-emergency escort being available if needed for the final move out. Wednesday night I called the venue. Cancelled. They were sympathetic but firms. No refund on the deposit, that's standard in Alberta for venues this size. About $6,300 gone. A small price to find out who somebody really was. Sasha showed up at the condo that night. I watched it on the doorbell camera from my car 3 blocks away. She pounded on the door for 10 minutes, tried her old key. It didn't work, called me 16 times standing right there on the step. Eventually she left, not before kicking the door hard enough to leave a scuff I'd have to explain to buyers. The condo sold in under 2 weeks. Cash offer, a young couple relocating from Saskatoon, $11,000 under asking. I took it immediately. I needed to be gone. Before I left, I filed 2 small claims actions through the Alberta court system. One against Cole for 8 months of unpaid rent at fair market value for the room, plus a share of utilities, $2,400. Well inside the small claims limit. The second against Sasha for her share of the non-refundable deposits we'd put down jointly. The venue, the photographer, the caterer, $3,800. All backed by joint bank statements and vendor contracts with both our names on them. I had both of them served at work. Sasha at the dental clinic where she worked as a hygienist, mid-shift. Cole at the dealership showroom, in front of customers. Public, legal, clean. The emails went out the following Saturday at 9 in the morning exactly, scheduled the night before from the hotel. 110 guests, plus the wedding party, plus both extended families. Subject line, wedding cancellation. 4 paragraphs. Factual, no insults, nothing I couldn't prove. A separate note to the wedding party with 1 extra line, for questions about refunds, please contact Cole or Sasha directly. I turned my phone off and drove out toward Kananaskis for the day, mountains and nothing else. When I turned it back on at sunset, there were over 90 unread texts and dozens of missed calls. My mother's voicemail was something I'll never forget. Marcus, what have you done? Everyone is calling me. How could you humiliate your brother like this? I saved it. Added it to the file. The fallout came fast once it started. And none of it was anything I'd reached out and caused directly. Sasha's clinic was connected to my mother's social circle through a mutual friend, and within days, the owner had heard enough that she was quietly transferred to a satellite location, 40 minutes outside the city with cut hours. She quit within a month. Car sales runs on referrals and reputation. And Cole's pipeline dried up almost overnight. Once word got around the dealership about what he'd done, past customers asked for a different sales person. His numbers cratered. And that fall they let him go. I'd turned down a transfer 8 months earlier. A regional position out in Vancouver, better title, more money. Because Sasha didn't want to leave her family in Calgary, didn't want to start over somewhere new. Funny how that worked out. I called my old manager on a Thursday. The Vancouver spot was still open. I was there inside 3 weeks. The harassment came in waves after that. An aunt showing up at the hotel, a cousin, old family friends I barely remembered, all running the same script. Blood is thicker than water, Cole is suffering, you need to let this go. I found a cease and desist template online, customized it, cited the relevant harassment provisions. Sent it registered mail to my mother's house with instructions to forward it to anyone still calling. It worked. The calls stopped. The move ate almost everything left after the condo sale cleared. The moving truck, gas across 2 provinces, first and last on a 1-bedroom in East Vancouver, I found online sight unseen. By the time I had a bed and enough dishes to feed myself, my account showed under $1,500. But nobody out there knew me. Nobody looked at me with pity. That was worth more than the money. Work kept me upright. I showed up early, stayed late, took on files nobody else wanted. Inside 8 months they'd promoted me to senior adjuster with a real raise attached. I asked what it would take to go further. 13 months in, I met Priya at a co-worker's barbecue. She worked as a vet tech at a clinic in Kitsilano. The kind of person who spent her days calming down scared animals and even more scared owners. Quiet, direct, the rare person who actually listens instead of waiting for her turn to talk. We talked for 3 hours about nothing. Hiking trails up the Chief, whether ketchup belongs anywhere near a real Canadian breakfast poutine. She handed me her number, before I'd worked up the nerve to ask. First real date was a ramen place on Robson, and when she asked why I'd moved across the country, I just told her everything. The discovery, the family meeting, the filings, all of it. I watched her face for pity or judgment. None came. She reached across the table and took my hand. Around the 18-month mark they started trying to pull me back. First the flying monkeys, old classmates, distant cousins, people I hadn't spoken to since high school sliding into my messages with the same lines. Your mother says you won't answer. Don't you think it's time to move on? Then came the health card. A text from an uncle on my mom's side, from a number I hadn't thought to block. Your mom was just diagnosed, early stage. She's asking for you. I sat with it for 3 days. Talked it through with Priya. My mother hadn't asked for me directly. Reagan was running the outreach through the uncle, same old pattern. The family managing me from a distance. I texted back that I hoped her treatment went well, and that I wasn't coming home. His reply, she'll be devastated. I didn't answer. The treatment went fine. I know because Reagan posted about it constantly before I blocked her too. Photos of family rallying together, not one mention of the son who wasn't there. Then Sasha found my new email, 20 months out. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. Cole and I broke up 8 months ago. It was a mistake, all of it. I threw away the best thing I ever had. I'm not asking for another chance. I just needed you to know I know what I lost. I read it twice, noted exactly how careful the wording was, the way she'd positioned herself as the one who'd suffered most. Then I blocked the address. Too little, far too late. Around month 22, a coworker mentioned someone matching Sasha's description. Had been asking around downtown about where I worked, whether I was seeing anyone. I alerted my building, switched to a keypad lock, changed my routes to work. 2 weeks later, an anonymous email landed in my inbox, copied to my entire department and 3 levels of management. Vague, ugly, calling me manipulative and vindictive, claiming I'd driven my ex to a breakdown and abandoned my dying mother. No signature, no specifics. I forwarded it straight to HR with the full timeline and every piece of documentation I'd already kept. IT traced the sending IP to a coffee shop in the same city Sasha now lived in. Public Wi-Fi, no login, couldn't prove it outright, but the pattern spoke for itself. I hired a paralegal service for $180, had a proper cease and desist sent to Sasha's current address, and filed a report with the local police, not to press charges but to put her name in a system somewhere in case it escalated. The emails stopped. I updated my will, my beneficiaries, every account, put Priya's name on all of it. I was done looking backward. 3 years to the day after I left, it all lined up at once. Priya and I had been married 6 months, small ceremony, just the people who'd actually earned the right to be there. Our daughter Maeve was 3 months old, born that spring with her mother's eyes and absolutely no interest in sleeping through the night. I'd been promoted twice. Regional claims director now, an office with a view of the inlet, a team of 11 reporting to me. We'd bought a house in a quiet part of Burnaby, and finally stopped checking our account before every grocery run. The last piece fell into place on its own. Sasha had landed at a new dental office back in her hometown, trying for a clean slate. What she didn't know was the practice owner sat on the provincial dental college's discipline committee, and that committee happened to include Priya's uncle. By marriage. Pure coincidence. Nothing I'd engineered. Over a Thanksgiving dinner at Priya's parents' place, her uncle mentioned offhand that they'd had to investigate a hygienist caught running unauthorized lookups through the provincial health records system. Every search traced back to one person. Some guy who used to live in Calgary, moved out west. She claimed she was just curious about an old acquaintance. Privacy law doesn't care about curiosity. I nearly dropped my fork. He said her name was Sasha. She'd been using her clinical access to search my address, my employer, my insurance details, all of it automatically logged because health privacy law in this country requires an audit trail. The findings landed on the disciplinary committee's desk, with my 2-year-old police report and cease and desist letter already sitting in the file, because I'd kept every piece of it organized and dated. License suspension, pending a full hearing. If they found she'd accessed it intentionally for personal reasons, which the pattern made obvious, she was looking at permanent revocation. She'd done it to herself. I just kept the receipts. 3 weeks later my mother called from a number I didn't recognize. Marcus, please. We need to talk. Cole was falling apart, she said. Lost another job. Couldn't hold down a relationship. Sasha blaming him for everything that had happened to her career. I know you don't owe any of us anything, she said, but he's still your brother. He had a brother. He chose to sleep with my fiancée for 8 months while I paid his rent. We were wrong. All of us. The way we handled that meeting. The things we said. You told me I was being dramatic. You told me to forgive him. You chose him. I was wrong. Yet, I said. You were. Neither of us spoke for a while. 3 years of silence and now this. I'm not coming back. I told her finally. I'm not helping Cole. I'm not rescuing Sasha from consequences she built herself. I have a family now. A wife who chooses me every day. A daughter who needs me. People who actually want me there. I understand. Do you? More silence. I miss you, Marcus. Every day. I know, I said, and I meant it. But missing me doesn't undo what happened. Take care of yourself, Mom. I hung up. Priya came in with Maeve on her hip. Who was that? My mother. You okay? I looked at my wife, at our daughter reaching for me with that gummy, toothless grin. At the house we'd built from absolutely nothing. Yeah, I said. I'm okay. The last confrontation came 4 months after that. A work conference brought me back east, and I made the mistake of stopping at a coffee shop I used to go to. Cole was there. He'd put on weight, none of it the good kind, and his eyes had that flat, hollowed-out look of a man who'd stopped expecting anything good to happen to him. Marcus. He crossed the shop in 4 strides before I could leave. Cole. You look good. Thanks. He shifted his weight, that same nervous energy from the day he'd cornered me on the porch 3 years back. I've been trying to reach you for a long time. I know what you're going to say. I've read the letters. Odd. Then you know I'm sorry. I mean it. What I did is the worst thing I've ever done, and I live with it every single day. Good. He blinked. Good. You should have to live with it. That's how consequences work. You make the choice. You live with what it costs you. We're still family? No, we're not. I said it without heat, just as a fact. You stopped being my brother the day I found you in my bed with my fiancée. The meeting after just confirmed it. You all made your choice. This is what living with it looks like. I've changed. I've been working on myself. Great. Go be better somewhere that isn't near me. I don't need you in my life. I don't want you there. And honestly, I don't think about you anymore. His face folded in on itself, that look people get when they finally understand you're not bluffing. What about Mom? She's getting older. She has you. She picked you. Remember? I finished my coffee, set the cup down on the nearest table. Have a good life, Cole. Just have it somewhere away from me. I walked out without looking back. The afternoon sun was warm against my face. My flight home was in 4 hours. And Priya and Maeve would be waiting for me at the gate when I landed. I got in the rental car and started driving. The Rockies somewhere far off ahead of me, home a few thousand kilometers away and getting closer with every mile.